And while the entertainment continues over on ITV at the moment, our next programme here on Channel 4 will be another critical look at the week's newspaper stories in What the Papers Say. And until then, we'll leave you with some music.
Channel 4, a look at which papers have been saying what in What the Papers Say.
This week, What the Papers Say is presented by Margaret Van Hatton of the Financial Times.
Good evening. It's been another one of those weeks for the government, the sort of week which in Fleet Street automatically crinkles off the phrase banana skin. George Gale in the Express on Friday worked the theme into a symphony.
10 banana skins for Maggie. Since the election, the Prime Minister's path has certainly been strewn with bananas.
The latest was the Prime Minister's failure to rescue her Foreign Secretary, Sir Geoffrey Howe, from being overrun by the leftist thug Dennis Healey. But this was only the most recent of a series of gifts to Fleet Street. Gale's conclusion:
To skid on 1 banana skin may be regarded as a misfortune. To skid on 10 is beginning to look like carelessness.
Cartoonist Austin in the Mail on Sunday,
It's a banana skin republic.
and Trog in the Observer
He's treating us like a banana skin republic?
had the same happy thought. But the Grenada crisis threw right-wing papers into confusion. They were obviously itching to bash the government, but couldn't quite bring themselves to attack Mrs. Thatcher. Gale's Washington colleague on the Express, Ross Marks, or Castro as the real villain.
Castro, the non-stop menace.
How the Cuban leader has spread his tentacles around the world.
And gave what he called an alarmingly impressive list of troublemaking, including Castro's effect on women. He quotes Margaret Trudeau, former wife of the Canadian Prime Minister, on a close encounter.
I was immediately mesmerized by what I saw. A tall man with incredibly beautiful eyes and a wild, almost fanatical look which made him very attractive.
Mark points out that the book this comes from is called Beyond Reason.
In a heavily accented voice, deep and gruff, he purred out a stream of romantic and flowery English.
No wonder the Americans felt impelled to rescue Grenada from the Cubans. Paul Johnson in the Mail on Sunday got stuck into that favourite pincushion of the right wing,
The Foreign Office doesn't deserve a third chance.
insisting it was all the Foreign Office's fault, that Mrs. Thatcher looked ill-informed, indecisive, even ridiculous, as he felt she had during the Falklands crisis.
The reason in both cases is the same. The grotesque incompetence and incorrigible complacency of the Foreign Office.
The Express's James Macmillan warned Mrs. Thatcher,
So long as she trusts her own instincts and keeps away from Foreign Office briefs, she will almost always get the right answer for Britain and British interests. We can ask no more.
The Mail felt President Reagan had been,
Both impressive and persuasive.
and reserved its scorn for,
The incorrigible ditherers who would never take decisive action until too late.
and even worse.
Those who are paralyzed by fear of world opinion.
Surely the Mail cannot have meant Mrs. Thatcher? No, surely not. Anyway, the leader writers must have had a good weekend, for by Monday they were conceding that Mrs. Thatcher's case for disagreeing with President Reagan was,
An honourable argument.
though less convincing than...
The joy of ordinary Grenadians at being freed from the tyranny of a bunch of gun-toting Marxists.
Well, now, that depends on how easily you're convinced. Even within one newspaper there can be two views.
The islanders are jubilant about the U.S. intervention in Grenada.
According to Christopher Thomas. But on the very same page we learn from Trevor Fishlock...
People are relieved, not jubilant.
But let it...